Do you want to be the most productive member of your team? Do you want to be the multi-cursor god, the fastest developer? You must know the Studio Code shortcuts I will teach you in this video. Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Today we are going to learn or remember some of the available Visual Studio shortcuts that can improve your time while coding and transform you in a programming god or something like that. Let's keep it simple in the beginning. So if you want to open a new file, instead of going here and look for the file inside of nested folders, instead of looking inside all of your folders in your project, you can simply go and press Ctrl+P, and then you can look for the file you want. You can start typing. So let's open the factory and you will have some hints. You will have the recently opened here. You can delete that, so it will give you only new files, not recently opened. So let me type again and it will look for all the files in your workspace, and I want the functional one, so I can click on it, or I can press Ctrl+P, then look for the factory one and use the arrow keys, and then let's open the factory base with enter. Another one that you will use a lot is the Ctrl, then Shift and P. That will open the command palette where you can perform some actions, like for instance open the user settings file, the JSON file. You can also select the Python interpreter and so on. You can also get into the command palette pressing F1 on Windows. It will do the same, or even doing Ctrl+P and then the greater than symbol. If you want to open the Visual Studio settings, you can press Ctrl then comma and it will open the settings for you. If you want to open and close this bar, you can press Ctrl and B and it will open in the last icon you pressed. Imagine that I was on the output. I can press Ctrl B again and it will close, Ctrl B, it will open, so you can close the tab without going there and pressing again in the same icon, so it can collapse. If you want to go to the Explorer, you can press Ctrl+Shift+E as it says on hover and it will open it, and you can press the Ctrl+B to close it again. If you want to the output is Ctrl+Shift+U, then Ctrl+Shift+F is a good shortcut if you want to replace in several files something. Imagine that I want to change this name. I can select it here, press Ctrl, Shift and F and it will put defined here. If I press Ctrl, Shift and H, it will open automatically the replace input, or if you just press the Ctrl, Shift, F, you can also expand it here to put the word you want to replace. If you want to open a new Visual Studio window, you can press Ctrl, Shift and N and it will open a new one. Now imagine that you want to revisit some recent project, so you can copy or get inspired with some code. You can press Ctrl then R for recent and it will show you the recent projects you worked in. Let's choose the 5 minutes tutorials and it will open there. If you want to open a completely new folder, you can press Ctrl+K and then O and it will ask you to select a folder so you can open. Let's use the Mesa one. It will open that folder as your project. Let's close this. Since I have a lot of tabs here, let me use Ctrl+V to close the sidebar. I want to close this current tab. I can press Ctrl and then W, so it closes. To close all of them, I can press Ctrl+K+W and it will close everything. If I want to open the last one, I can press Ctrl, Shift and T. Then if I want to split my Studio Code screen, I can press Ctrl+\, and I have the file into places. I can even select the right side and then press Ctrl+P and open another file. Okay, and I have two different files right now. I can press Ctrl and Tab to loop in all files that I have open in my editor group. So I have a group on the left side and another on the right side because I split it in the screen, and I can loop on all the files. Let me open another one. So I press Ctrl and Tab. I have 3 now. If you just press Ctrl and Tab, it will open the last one, the previous one where you were. And you can also change to this one. Okay. If you want to change from the right side to the left side without using the mouse, you can press Ctrl and choose 1 and it will go to the left side, and 2 it will go to the right side, or Ctrl plus 3 if you have another split on the screen. If you want to toggle the panel below, you press Ctrl and J and you can see, for example, the debug console or something like that. If you want to open the terminal, you can press Ctrl and backtick. It will open the terminal, and you then can press Ctrl and B. In my case, I have it on the sidebar, so you need to use Ctrl plus B to close it. If you want to find something in your file, you can press Ctrl plus F. If you want to replace something after double clicking it, you can press Ctrl plus H and it will open the replace input. Again, you have this toggle replace arrow that you can activate or not. To refactor something, you can press the F2 key. Let me see a good example. Imagine here I have payment type inside of this function. A lot of times I can select it, press F2, and now let me change it payment type refactor. And when I press enter, it will change all the references to my variable that are inside of this function. Of course, if my variable is a global one, it will change everywhere in the file. You can also look for all the words that you have in the file equal to the one you have selected by pressing Ctrl and then F2, and it will give you a multi-cursor selection, so all the words that match the one you selected before will have a cursor on top of it, and you can use your keys to change. Let me use Ctrl and delete to delete the word until the end from the position I am, and then a backspace, and I have payment type again. If you select and press Ctrl-Shift-L, it will select all the instances of that word as well. It's like pressing Ctrl-F2, right? It's the same, Ctrl-Shift-L or Ctrl-F2, so I guess it's better to press Ctrl and then F2. To format your code, you press Alt, Shift and F and it will format. Let me, in Python, you should have given space between the functions and the classes and so on. And I'm pressing Alt, Shift, F and it will format it for me. In this case, I have the black formatter configured. And now a little bit more specific to while coding. So imagine that you want to know inside the function what are the arguments and you want some hints. You just press Ctrl, Shift and space and it will give you the information about the parameters and then the type of arguments you need to pass to the function. And of course, if you want to have some suggestion, you can press only Ctrl and space and it will give you all the possible variables or methods or functions that start with letters you just typed. Imagine I want to press the P and then I press Ctrl space and I can see that I can use, for instance, pay or print. If I use pay, then I want to know what are the parameters. I press Ctrl, Shift and space and I now know what are the parameters, so I can know that it needs a factory and then an amount. If you want to look for a given function that you know the name, you can press Ctrl, Shift and O. It will use the hat symbol. You can look for a given instance variable, class, function, a method that you defined. I want to see the pay method. I can go there and click it, and it will give me the definition of that function. It's not a method. In this case, it's a function. If you want to go to a specific line because you have an error on line 39, okay, then you can press Ctrl and G and put 39 and press enter, and the cursor will be set on that line. If you want to comment some line, you can press Ctrl and /, and if you press it again, it will uncomment the line. Ctrl plus /. A really good shortcut when coding in Python is the indent and outdent line shortcuts. In reality, they are two. The command is Ctrl and then the square brackets, and you can put the close square brackets if you want to indent. Okay, I'm pressing that. And the open square brackets if you want to get back. And that's really nice because if you select something, you can indent everything and go back really quickly, no matter where your cursor is. So you have two ways of doing it. Ctrl plus the square brackets to indent and outdent, and using the tab and shift tab for the same thing. Again, in the multi-cursor world, you can create a new one with your mouse. So you press the Alt key and then you click somewhere, and you will have now 2, 3, 4, and the ones you want. If you want to delete one of them, you can click on it again. You can click on it and it will remove the one you just added. A little hack here: if you want to copy two words, you can double click, press Alt and double click again, copy and then paste, and you have the two words. Okay, and two or more words, of course. You just need to select, Alt, select with double click, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and then you have all of that. You can also set the multi-cursor using the keyboard only by pressing Ctrl and Alt and then the down keys or the up keys, so you can put more and less cursors. Then you can move it around as usual and type something. If you are putting some multi-cursors with your mouse or with the keyboard and you miss one of them like this, you can press Ctrl and then U to undo the last cursor you put there. Ctrl U to go back. Still using multi-cursors, imagine that you want to select this pay, this pay, this pay, and this pay, and this pay. So basically only the word pay that is on the method definition and not the pay words inside anything else. And you can firstly select your word or even just put the cursor behind it and press Ctrl and D. The D will select the first word after the position of your cursor if it is not selected. Then if you press Ctrl D again, it will try to find a match for it. But if you don't want this match, you can press Ctrl K and then D again, and we'll select the next one. And now, okay, we want this, just press Ctrl D to go to the next one. We found a good match, okay, then again Ctrl plus D. In Ctrl plus D, we have all of our words selected, but we skipped the pay ones there. This one was the one we skipped, and you can do this multiple times. Imagine the print one. I want to change the first print call here. Then I press Ctrl D, and it selects the blueprint, the print in the end of blueprint. I don't want it. I press Ctrl K and D, and it will jump to the next match. Okay, I want it. I press Ctrl and D because I want more. I press Ctrl K and D again, and I press Ctrl D, K and D, and I have everything selected, so I can delete and call logger.debug imagine, and I can Ctrl and then backspace to delete the full word and write print again. You can also go through your code and select only the places you want, or you can try to use the F2 to refactor. In this case, it's not so direct. Another thing I want to tell you is to duplicate a line, the default shortcut is Alt Shift and up and down, but I changed it in my case because I think that it's not so good because it requires two hands on the keyboard, and I like to select something and then I just duplicate that, like so. I have this context, I press my own and customized shortcut, and I have my right hand on the mouse and the left hand on the keyboard, but it's up to you. What I changed the copy line down shortcut to use Ctrl Shift and D when you have a selected line, like cursor there or a selected line. If you press, in my case, or if you also change your shortcuts as I have mine, if you press Ctrl Shift and D, it will duplicate easily the line. You are only using the left hand and you have the right hand to use your mouse or prepare yourself to, for instance, do another thing like another shortcut. You can also use the Alt and up and down keys to change the position of your lines. Imagine that for some reason someone put this code in this way, and you just need to put that in the right order. It's quite simple. You can select all of it and use Alt and up and go up, or you can just select these ones or even just this one and go down. And if you go down, you can use only one line, multiple lines, you can use it as you wish, and always use Alt Shift and F to format your code correctly, as I always do. The last two ones that I will give you today are the Ctrl Enter and Ctrl Shift Enter to create a new line, and even if you are in the middle of a line. So I'm right here. If I press enter, it will break the line. But if I press Ctrl and then enter, it will jump to a new line. If I'm here and I press Ctrl and enter, it will put a new line between the line where I am and the other ones below. If for some reason I want to do the opposite, instead of go down, I want to go up, I press Ctrl Shift and enter, it will go up. Even if I am in the middle of the text, it will not break the text, it will create a new line. The final and extra shortcut that I will give you, it's the Alt and Z that will basically wrap the text without breaking everything, so you can visually have a better reading of the code. I'm not able to read this until the end unless I scroll, okay? And if I have a smaller window here, it's even worse. If I press Alt and Z, it will wrap the text, but it's not putting some new lines on it. If you put this on a bigger screen, it will have the code as it is. It's just to visually read everything without having to scroll the code. Thank you for watching. I hope you are now a Studio Code god and that it will result in at least a raise in the end of the month.